Solitaire Rose Radio, episode 48. Art Ops artist Matt Brundage. One of the things I've been doing on Facebook is I'm using it the way you're supposed to be using LinkedIn. LinkedIn's supposed to be this place where you kind of interconnect and do networking and all that. And basically, it's just a place where if you put up stuff, temp agencies will email you and say, hey, we've got a horrible job. Would you like to have it? Or old people you worked with will email you and go, do you know where there are any jobs? But on Facebook, I finally hit that point where I think it's kind of a critical mass point where I know enough people that all of a sudden in the people you may know, it's actually coming up with people who are worth talking to rather than, oh, there's that one person from high school that annoyed the hell out of me and called me names until until they graduated and got a job at a gas station. And Matt was one of the people who I'd seen his name. He's going to be on this Vertigo book with Mike Allred. So I hit the friend request and sent it off, and he messaged me back. I thanked him, of course. I try to thank everybody who accepts a friend request. And we started doing the Facebook chat thing. And he said, I'd love to do an interview for your show. And I thought, great, that'd be a lot of fun. So we set it up, and the interview you're going to listen to is our talk. It's the first time we talked. We traded messages over Facebook. One of the things I really liked was, as I'm talking about how much I like Art Ops, he says, oh, wait, here's some pages from issue 3. Here's what I'm working on now. He's so excited about comics. He's having so much fun doing comics. And as you listen to the interview, one of the things that really strikes me is he's having fun. He's worked in the fitness industry. He really enjoyed that. He still goes to the gym. He's got stories about how he's at conventions and he's having fun. And as he's drawing comics, he's having fun. And we talk about the joy of comics. And it's one of the things I think keeps me involved in comics is that it's fun. It's fun to read these issues. It's fun to read the old stuff. It's fun to talk about Jack Kirby, and it's fun to talk about John Buscema and all of these other artists that we love. And Matt was just very, very bubbly and effusive, and you're really going to like this interview. So go ahead, listen to the interview. In the show notes, he in the interview, he talks about a brush he found that he really loved. And I've got that in the show notes as well as some of the markers he talked about. There's also a YouTube link in the show notes, which is him and Mike Allred working on issue 3 of Art Ops. Go ahead, check all those things out. By the way, the art supplies and stuff are available through the Solitaire Rose Network Amazon store. If you go there, I get to wet my beak a little and kind of maybe can do this a little more often because I won't have to work the full-time and the part-time job so much. But that comes later when I talk about the ads. Right now, just listen to Matt. You're going to love this interview. I have a question.
Yes.
Before I tell this story, are you a wrestling fan?
By wrestling, you mean wrestling Olympic?
Professional.
No. I am. I really am.
Okay. Have you ever heard the story of why Paul Heyman was fired from WWF back about 10 years ago?
No.
He was in charge of SmackDown.
Okay.
And Stephanie McMahon was in charge of Raw.
Okay.
And Vince told them to compete. Well, Paul found out the code for the Raw meetings. Because they would, have conference calls.
Yeah.
He would call in and listen to their meetings.
That's amazing. I love that.
And eventually got caught and
great.
fired.
Yes. That's me. I would do that. So I see nothing wrong with that. That's perfect. In a hot second, I would do that. Oh my gosh. That's great.
Well, I wanted to know more about you. First off,
Yeah.
you said that Mr. Allred would have been on. How long have you known Mr. Allred or
Boy,
Mike or however you should call him? I haven't met him, so I'll call him Mr. Allred.
yeah,
And
he
I've
kind of
spent too
started,
much money on his omnibuses.
boy, I tell you, are those cool or what?
Oh,
What I like
they
about
look
that
great on a
is I
shelf.
always get one when he gets them out. So just kind of, I know the omnibuses are out. I go visit them and they say, you want one of these? Well, all right. I knew the iZombie one just came out. So, and I had to
Yep.
deliver some pages to him for art ups. So I
Okay.
just happened to drop by. What's going on? I just got these. You did? Oh, you want one? I'd love one. Thank you. It's the best. He's a very, very kind, gracious guy. Always willing to share everything. So I definitely take terrible advantage.
So how long have you either A, known or B, worked with him?
I've known him about 24 years. I mean, right back when he not just started Mad Men, but a few years into it, I met him at a Eugene convention and, we've been buddies ever since, just hanging out at his place, drawing. That's really where a lot of projects happened, was right there at his house. I'm harassing his dog and he's kind of going, I had to pass up on this spirit story. And I get to say stuff like, don't pass that up. Hand it over. Let's get it done. Stuff like that. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I've known him quite a long time. We've been great friends for quite a while. He's truly one of the greatest friends you could ever have.
Every interview I have read with him has been just fascinating. There was one recently in Comic Book Creator that I was actually kind of sad that it was a long interview, but it's no, so much more, so much more. But this isn't about him. It's about you.
Well, all right then.
And I wanted to ask first, when did you get bitten by the art bug and, just kind of drawing and knowing, okay, this is what I want to do?
Okay. When my mother would take my brother and I to church, and it was so boring, and we would fill those hymn books with drawings. That's actually a true story. She wouldn't hand us pictures because we had to pay attention, so we draw in the hymn books.
Oh, wow.
My older brother, I have 6 older brothers, but the one closest to me was a comic book fiend, and he got me catching the bug. And he also was, there are people that are just true natural talents, kind of like when talent and hard work come together. Then, that's when you get the Michael Jordans and so on. And to me, that was my brother Paul, but he just didn't work at it as hard as I did. But we were just comic book goobers. Oh, we loved them. As a matter of fact, a creator-owned story I'm doing has to deal with this is the only hint I'll give you because I don't want to let it out of the bag just yet. It has to deal with the most traumatic thing that ever happened to Paul and I in our comic books. And that's the basis of the actual story.
Okay.
Every comic book person that loves comics or loves anything, and just anything that has to do with creating or animation, when I tell them this story about what happened, they just, it's like the worst horror story they ever heard. So
about when were you reading comics? What were the things that really got you hooked?
Oh, what got me hooked is, well, first of all, it was Jack Kirby before I knew Jack Kirby got me hooked. I had no idea it was Jack Kirby that was getting me hooked on this stuff. I remember the exact book that just blew me away. That it's still, the story still gets me to this day. It was, and I don't remember what issue it was, but it was Commandy. To where, did you ever read those old Commandy books?
Oh yeah, I am doing an audio biography of Jack Kirby.
Okay.
So you're talking to a Kirby fan.
You would love
Kirby fan.
My good friend Ben Saunders over here. He's a professor at the U of O. He has created a whole class. This is a college accredited class about comic books, and he does a 2-week seminar about just Jack Kirby. So like Mike Arden,
one of those things where I could go, you could probably do an entire semester on Jack.
He could. I learned so many things just listening to his talks, but it's more just looking at all these college students and their course books are those omnibuses or those essential comics. I'm just going, they have comic books for their course books.
And they're cheaper than textbooks.
Yep. I leaned over and really cute little, going, what you got there? She goes, this is my course book. I'm going, oh, it's a Fantastic Four course book. That's the best. Oh, Where was this class when I went to school? Ah, but it was the Commandy. I can't remember exactly what issue, but it was the issue to where you never see Superman in the issue, but the issue was all about Superman.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yep. And
That
it has
cover.
that cover where Superman's costume is nailed up, but
Amazing.
but Commandy can't see it because it's behind a door.
Yep. That's the
And
one. And a
yeah.
great cover too. I mean, and they never said Superman's name. They just talked about this great man that saved the world. And it was incredible. That blew my mind when I was a kid. I had no idea I was even a Jack Kirby fan at that time. Didn't know who he was. All I knew is that was one of the coolest things I ever read. Commandy's walking around and like giant ape men are flying through the air for no reason because they're slingshotting them. That's great.
So when she got hooked, were you one of those kids who had to get everything, or did you say, did you focus on artists, characters, companies?
I always focused on the artist. Always. I always loved the artist. If it wasn't drawn great, I didn't want to see it. And so I would say, gosh, the artist that just really got me initially. Well, initially, again, but I didn't know it, was Jack Kirby, John Buscema, initially. When that, dang it, what issue was that? Silver Surfer against Thor.
Issue number 4.
Thank you so much. One of the greatest comic books ever. That blew my mind when I was a kid. But I didn't know who John Buscema was. I just knew that's one of the most beautifully drawn books I ever saw. When I really started collecting comics for the artist and the stories was, I would say George Perez and John Byrne. That was the early. I mean, early, loved it. And I'm talking the early Fantastic Four, the early Avengers that John Byrne drew, when John Byrne drew, Marvel 2-in-1s and the Avengers, and he drew like 74 books a week. I don't know, man, that guy. But for some reason, they were just amazing. And George Perez and then he worked into the Teen Titans. And even though it was inked by Romeo Tangal, I think it was, but,
yep.
You still couldn't hide the brilliance of George Perez at that time. And then my freshman year in high school, I met another one of my great friends. As a matter of fact, I would say my two greatest artistic influences were my two great friends, Mike Allred and Shane Glines. Have you ever heard of Shane Glines?
I have not.
He is a character designer for Warner Brothers.
Okay.
And everybody, I mean, what I consider and what a lot of people consider some of the best artists in the world, like Bruce Timm will be the first one to say Shane Glines is one of the best artists he ever met. But Shane just kind of likes sitting back and just designing them, being kind of in the background, not really. But that guy is just a genius. Amazing. So I knew him in high school. I showed him all my John Byrne swipes and my George Perez swipes. And he pulls out this incredibly Frazetta and Toth influenced original artwork. And then he introduced me to, he opened up my whole world to Frazetta, Toth, Gil Kane, other illustrators, N.C. Wyeth, Robert Fawcett, oh, good heavens. And he still does that today. He still just finds these obscure artists that are just brilliant. He's a weird little artist savant is what he is.
You're in high school. Were you already thinking, I'm going to be an artist when I grow up? Or was it just one of those things that, the people who draw comics are rock stars. There's no way I could be a rock star.
There is no way I could be. That's exactly right. That's so true. Yeah, I knew. There was a couple interviews we found in the local paper of Shane and myself sitting there in front of all of our comic books because we were drawing our own comic in high school. The only bad news about being one of only two artists in school is whenever like a filthy drawing got passed around, it was one of two people. Terrible. Always got caught.
Now, did you take art classes in high school? And if so, how did the teacher react to the fact that you were using comic books as an influence?
We had a great teacher, but she was I think she was kind of a hippie teacher, but she was like a really good looking hippie teacher. So she was very, very open. She loved anything that we drew, anything we created. and she was really attractive. She's that school crush teacher. She was our art teacher
Okay.
with the loose sweaters, Miss Provan. She was awesome. We loved her. And she just supported, she let us hang out in the art room, skipping class, just drawing all day if we wanted to. It was pretty great.
And as you're finishing up high school, what was your plan?
I didn't have a plan. I had no idea what to do. Just knew I liked to draw. I didn't know. Good gracious. No, I had no plan. I had no idea. I didn't even know how to get into comics. I knew I liked drawing comics and I wanted to draw comics. I had no idea how, except what they told you how to, they teach you how to put your samples together and everything. I never did that. I never sent samples out. I had no idea. My first actual offer to draw a comic book was when Dark Horse Comics first started off. Remember way back when?
Yep, that's about 86. They had Dark Horse Presents.
Yes, that's exactly right. So I took some samples. That's where I met my good friend Matthew Clark. Matthew Clark is drawn for Superman and Wonder Woman, and he's actually doing a book for Shaft right now, which is pretty cool. And he's actually a very well-known artist right now. But that's where I met him for the first time. I brought some samples, and I was offered a job by Randy Stradley right there to do a story for him for Dark Horse Presents. Of course, myself in the ignorance, I don't know what that means. I give him my number, and then I never call him. I just sit back and I wait. Well, okay, where's my story? What do I know?
So what were you doing on the side to kind of make sure that you had rent and ramen noodles?
Oh gosh, when people get out of high school, what happens? That's kind of the thing is, drawing for fun, or I was drawing for a bunch of little things around town, T-shirts, Oregon Duck. Illustration, if you will. I actually got into advertising a little bit, but, mostly working at the Sizzler is what I was doing. And
Okay.
I was getting certified in studying fitness at that time. So the fitness industry has actually helped pay the bills while I get this career going.
And it probably also helps with, if you're around people who are working out all the time, you're learning more about anatomy and physiology, which could bring that into your art as well.
Actually, I got to the point to where I headed the education department for Gold's Gym International, to where I would teach kinesiology and anatomy classes. And that was extremely helpful. So yeah, I've studied anatomy very extensively, physiology and kinesiology, and that's been invaluable, knowing how everything works and moves, and then still wondering how Frazetta made bodies move that way. You know what I mean? So.
Well, and it also probably helps because a lot of artists and writers and creative people spend a lot of time hunched over their desk, creating and stuff. And you've got this other thing, so you're actually going out taking care of yourself and doing the art.
Yes. 5 o'clock every morning. I get it done. 5 to 7. Because I know when I sit at that drawing board, it's done for the day. I'm going to be hunched over. So yeah,
this may be a bit of an odd question,
yeah.
But do other artists and creators and stuff, do they actually ask you, hey, can you help me figure out a fitness routine, something to take care of myself? Or did they just look at you and go, dude, you have too much spare time?
Some have asked me. Actually, my editor just asked me, but it's it's not like suggesting, what's a good recipe for chicken kind of a thing. It's a very specialized thing, so it's not a general thing. So I'd actually let the editor know that I would need at least 3 days to put that together for her. And she's, oh my goodness, I'm going, it takes time. It's creating a magnificent work of art. I'm not gonna throw some stuff on a piece of paper and wish you the best. So yeah, no, I do get asked, just not very often.
I often tell people, the reason I lift weights isn't because I want to, look or whatever. That's the one time everything in my brain is quiet. Because when you have 250 pounds on your back and you're squatting, you can't be thinking about anything else except right. I got to get up.
Yes, that's a very good point. Absolutely. It does help you focus.
You went to Dark Horse, they offered you a job, and you kind of blew it.
Yeah, you mean they're not supposed to search me out and find me and force me to do it? Is that not how comics works? We talk about that quite a bit, just kind of going, I met with Mike Richardson a few years back, and I kind of go, still waiting for that job. He didn't remember. Didn't remember he offered me a job. Tell Stradley I'm waiting for that story. What story? God, oh, you know what I'm talking about. But, so I blew it. What do you do?
Well, that's the question. What did you do?
What did I do?
You probably felt like, I've made it. Wait,
I was
what
pretty
happened?
tickled. Yeah. Who knows? I think I waited for a good year to draw that story. I just kept drawing my own stuff there for a while. And then, like I said, I got into illustration. I was getting into animation. I was working with my good friend Shane at that time, and he had reached out to John Cristofalusi at Spumco. So, like I said, I've been blessed to be around Mike and Shane. I've kind of rode those coattails a little bit. Wherever they went, I'd go visit and get a job there too, kind of a thing. So it's definitely be about who I know for that part of the career. But I've also been the dink of the group, to where I've been enjoying kissing girls and kind of screwing around. Drawing some fun stuff, doing some comic book work, but not really applying myself. But just this last year, I finalized my divorce, and I'm just kind of going, you know what? I just think now's the time. It's like I've been practicing for like 20 some years, and I think it's time to put it all, and let's get a monthly book going on here. So the day after the divorce, I got a call to do art ops. It was weird. It was like it had to be. So here we are. And since then,
Now, Art
I've two
Ops,
other
I've read the first issue.
Okay.
Haven't got your issue yet because I get my books monthly. They show up, but I'm one of those people who I order them and they show up every month at my door in a big box.
Okay.
But I wanted to, it's got a weird sort of vibe to it in that Mike Allred's drawing some, you're drawing some.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like there are issues where you're both drawing. Mm-hmm. So how did that come about? How did it turn into this artistic partnership on this book?
Well, first of all, Mike knows what I can do. So I guess there's a certain faith right there. We've actually done a lot of projects together. And also I've been at his house drawing multiple times. I can't tell you how many things, little things in Mad Men. I come up there and I'm going, let me draw that in there. But,
okay.
So when the opportunity came up, because let's just say it, Mike Allred is one of the most original and highly recognized, and I think absolute best comic artists today. That also means he's extremely sought after and extremely busy. So, but you get this great opportunity to do, a book for Vertigo and his great friend Shelley Bond, you kind of don't pass it up. So he called me to come on in and help out and make sure that it gets done, or else it wouldn't have got done.
Now, is this the first project you've gotten credit on that you've worked with him?
No, I got credit on the Spirit. We did a Spirit story together, and we did Chasing Amy together. Let's see if there's anything else we did together. We did a couple movies, but
Chasing Amy, I remember that book coming out, mm-hmm. and that had to be. First off, tell me how that project came about, because it was right after Kevin Smith's Mallrats, which probably nearly killed his career.
Yeah,
so
I actually really liked the movie, but I could see why he didn't do well.
I was there first day. I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan, but Absolutely. I remember Mallrats came out, and I'm there first day, and there's 20 of us mm-hmm. at the theater at the Mall of America on a Friday night, and all I'm thinking is, well, that can't be good.
And that's it, 20. And that's about all that saw the movie. But I really liked the movie. Same situation, same scenario. He was packed with work, but he got the opportunity to do, the artwork for Chasing Amy. So he had me come in and just draw it up, and he threw some faces on some of the figures, so it had that Allred flair, and boom, it's done. Project done. So I just stopped by in New Jersey. I was working with some gyms in New Jersey, and I'm kind of going, well, it doesn't make sense not to stop by the Secret Stash. So I stopped by there. They still have the artwork up there. And I was real surprised. All the guys from Comic Book Men, they're actually there. I'm going, you got to be kidding me. You guys are actually here. That's great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they hang out there. I'm going, no way. It's not just a show. Yeah, but my artwork is still up there. I was pretty tickled.
Did that sort of did that help your career in either comics or film? Or was it one of those things that just kind of, oh, what a cool job, and then you were on to the next thing?
It was a what a cool job, on to the next thing, and I used it to pick up girls a lot, but I never used see what a tremendous opportunity. If I'm smart enough, I build a career based on stuff like that. But yeah, the only time I've really truly applied myself outside of fitness and animation, and so I guess my career has been mostly in animation and advertising. But I love comic books, but I've never attacked them with the kind of fervor I did with the fitness and the animation and the advertising.
I
So
wanted
that,
to ask about the time at Spumco, because Spumco is one of those companies. When Ren and Stimpy was out,
mhm.
that thing was monstrously huge,
Yes.
and they really didn't quite follow it up for various reasons that would be a waste of time. But what was it like being at a place that's all of a sudden, this is the cool, hot animation studio, and everybody's looking at this saying, these are the guys?
By the time I got there, that's when games animation finally came in, and Ren and Stimpy was no longer there. So it was a little depressing. It was this big studio. The whole downstairs had, like I would say, like a good 20 desks down there, where I guess they used to have people drawing constantly, and they were all empty. So we just worked in the upstairs, and they had John had the big office, and then we had Mike Fontanelli, and we had Shane. We were basically doing the comic book and doing some random artwork for phone companies and stuff like that. Now, also, that's where I learned a whole bunch, because I would spend an hour on a drawing, and John Crispolucci would come out and fix it in 2 minutes, make it gorgeous. Really upset me. But
I was going to say, on his blog, he's very instructive.
yes, that's how he is.
Okay.
He will come out. He will spend. He is one of the most gracious, giving, but he loves teaching. He's a great teacher, and he's got no problem. He'll sit there right over your original drawing and take the side of his pencil and start, and he just fixes stuff. And you're going, that's amazing. Oh, incredible. I still have a bunch of sketches where he fixed my artwork. I learned more by that than I think almost anything. That was an incredible turning point for me.
I was going to ask, what other teachers have you had? You've worked with a lot of people, but John Kay sounds like a really strong teacher. Any other people